What if you're so good at stewarding money that you're actually disobeying God when he asks you to spend? And I know that sounds kind of backwards, but stay with me. So every financial expert would have called it completely irresponsible, but God had our friends spend many thousands of dollars just to meet one random couple. And they were in the leanest season. He had just left his secure job to start a business that wasn't really taking off yet. And they had their responsible anniversary trip all planned out with points in their budget. But then God said, I want you to go on this really, really expensive trip. This was the kind of trip that they wouldn't even do in their best financial season. And then they almost dismissed it because they were trying to be good stewards, right? And so what if the irresponsible thing that God is asking you to do is actually the most obedient thing that you could do? And what if learning to spend in obedience is just as important as learning to save wisely? So today we're giving you 3 questions to ask when you feel God leading you to spend beyond what makes sense, because I want you to be someone who's looking back and seeing how your irresponsible obedience became the most important decision that you have ever made. Let's dive in. Good morning, hon.
So one of our favorite things
Is what?
are these Needo cubes. It's Needoh, and we just
This video is being sponsored by Needo.
I wish if they want to sponsor, call me. We bought them for everyone on our team. We had our very first team retreat, and they are just the best, like, stress ball. Well, it's a cube, but it's the best one I've ever found.
Why? What makes it good?
Because I like the way it, like, squeezes, you know. Is that how you say that? But
I don't know.
I like the way it feels when I squeeze it, and it, like, warms up, so it, like, gets even more, like, it gets softer the more you play with it. But and then it, you know, goes back to its original shape. But it feels like, it doesn't feel like it gets grimy to me, even though it does. There's something about the...
Even though it does, it doesn't feel like it.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like some of these, they hit the carpet and it's like every single thing sticks to it, and it's got like 4 hairs on it. And
yeah, that's gross.
And I don't feel like these do that. They don't have that type of stickiness. And they're the right size.
You think
I just really like them.
So much so that we just recorded another podcast, and I was playing with one, and she's like, I need to go get mine.
I gotta go get mine.
I can't do this episode without mine.
Yeah. I've bought them for the kids. They're a great stocking stuffer, or like an Easter basket thing, you know, because it's like kids just need stuff to fidget with.
Okay.
But
great.
it doesn't make any noise, you know, so it's not like
noise.
It's not like gonna completely distract from everything, but it is something that you can just kind of play with. And
all right. So you can get yours for a low price of $19.95 if you go. No, I don't even know where you buy them. But,
or 4 payments of.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I mean,
should
it's
we
like,
start selling these on our website?
Honestly, yeah.
Should we give away?
And they make small ones too. I don't like the small one as much.
How about everybody who buys a course, we'll send them one? Should we do that?
Oh.
Would that be a good idea?
That's kind of a good idea.
Is it?
But I feel like there was one person on our team that was like, I mean, I just don't need it. I was like,
I mean, I don't really feel like I need it, but anyway. All right. Well,
you do need it though.
I do,
like,
though.
I literally watched you get it and set it down right by your little setup over here. And I was like, that's a great idea. So I went and got mine.
all right. So we had dinner with some friends the other night, and they told a story of something that God did in their lives recently that I thought was, man, this is good. A, it's a cool testimony, but B, I think it highlights a facet of personal finances as a Christian that I don't think is talked about enough.
Right.
You want to tell the story?
Sure. So these friends moved here, as everyone in Nashville does. No one's from Nashville. You know, they moved here a few years ago because his job was
right.
here. Okay.
Yeah.
She sold a business. They moved here. She sort of combined with someone else's business and became a partner. So he he prays about and feels a leading to leave his secure job.
Good job.
And move on to start his own business. And this was something I think that had been kind of inside him for a long time.
Yeah, for years, yeah. But he felt like the time was right.
Right. He felt like the time was right. And, this, I'm telling you, everyone who moves to Franklin has this story. Not everyone. That's an over-exaggeration. But it feels to me like I talk to a lot of people who come here with well, the reason I came here was X. And then 2 to 3 years time, within 2 to 3 years time, that thing that they thought they moved here for is now long gone.
Yeah.
And
God has different
does
plans.
not matter to them at all. God has different plans. And so this feels like one of those things where he comes here because of his job, and then he ends up quitting his job and moving on to the next thing. And, it hasn't been the easiest transition. It hasn't been like, oh yeah, within just 2 months.
The business didn't just start exploding instantly.
Within 2 months,
so
everything was great.
A slow kind of ramp up into it. And so his business is, I think he's trying to get it off the ground. And like anybody who's started a business knows, it's like most times it doesn't just explode from the beginning. Sure. And it's like, it just takes some time to get things going. And so as a result, I feel like they've been doing a good job of managing their resources wisely, strategically, knowing that it's like we're trying to get our income back up and it might take a little bit. And so in all of this, they basically had an anniversary coming up, and they were kind of trying to decide where to go and looking at a couple different options. And the Lord presented an idea of this trip that was very extravagant and priced, I don't know, probably 5 to 10 times more than the more reasonable thing that they were considering doing.
Right.
And
they had the whole thing planned out. They were like, we've got points. We'll stay at this hotel. We'll fly on points.
So
all we have to do is pay for food.
Super reasonable, anniversary trip to kind of celebrate their anniversary. Because it's like, again, times are a little bit leaner. We don't need to be spending tons of money. And the Lord kind of presents this idea of going on this trip that is so expensive. Like under their best of circumstances, they wouldn't have done that. But especially right now, it makes no sense. Like, why would we ever spend that much money on that trip to do that or whatever? And the guy, my guy friend, he said, like, as he was praying, the Lord's like, listen, you've done a fantastic job stewarding your money. Like, you've done really, really good in that. But I am going to teach you how to trust me and how to trust me on a new and a deeper level. And it's like, okay, I don't know what that means. But through all this, he senses the Lord lead him to go back and start investigating this really expensive trip option.
It's sort of like an all-inclusive place.
Yeah. And so he's like, I'll go look at it, but
not totally.
Yeah, I'll go look at it, but it's like whatever. This just isn't going to work.
We're just not going to do that.
We're just not going to spend, whatever. I don't know what percentage of their savings, but such a big amount on something like this. We're not going to do that. It feels irresponsible. It feels whatever, all these different things. And anyway, kind of long story short, one thing leads to another, and they just really sense the Lord leading them to do this, this thing that feels really irresponsible financially, but they sense the Lord leading them to do it, which is such a difficult tug, Right. And so they decided to do it. And what was so cool is they thought it was just for them. Like, all right, we'll obey the Lord, whatever, for whatever reason. And it's like, we're going to be blessed by this. This is great.
Right. Well, and they found the room. It was discounted. It kept getting discounted. And they were like, okay, well, maybe the Lord's discounting this so that we can, they're trying to justify what the Lord is doing because this was an extravagance that they're not they're not used to spending on themselves. Yeah. And that especially in this time, they don't feel like
it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
Right?
It's just
That's
not
what it comes down
natural
to. It doesn't
right.
make sense. And so anyway, so they end up meeting this other couple there that it quickly becomes really, really clear that this isn't a divine assignment that God had for them to meet this couple, to be able to speak into their lives, to be able to pray for them and all this different stuff.
They had some mutual
and who
friends.
Also was very, very influential couple.
Right.
Anyway, the point of all this, like the takeaway from all this that I saw, that I'm like, oh, this is just really interesting. That I had, like, because we've wrestled with certain things like this, and we'll get to some of that in a minute. But But it's so easy to, I don't know, to dismiss things that God might leading you to do because they don't make sense. And because I know better, like this feels irresponsible, this blah, 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 blah. But God's like, listen, I need to get you in that room with that person so that you can do this thing that I need you to do. So get over the feeling irresponsible about the money. It's actually all mine.
Right.
Trust me in this because I'm trying to do something.
And I think it's very easy to have that idea of, I need to get you in that room with this person when it looks like we're going to a third world nation
Yep.
to be a missionary.
Yep.
It's really easy to see that. And I think that that is actually probably a really great representation of what he's trying to do. The problem is our brains are wired to think, well, it's because I have more and I can give to that.
Yeah.
And it's like, maybe financially,
Yep.
but do you actually have more?
Yeah.
Like, are you closer to me than they are? Are you, you know?
Yeah.
And there are people that need that all over the world.
Yeah.
It's not just people who are stuck in
Poor
poverty
and
or
rich. Yep.
right.
So
Like, we don't need to come in and be the hero. What we need to do is come in and show them how Jesus is the hero. And that there is no amount of money that can change what you carry in the spirit.
yep.
Like, it cannot buy it and it cannot take it away.
Yep.
Like, you have to get it from one place and one place only, and that is from God.
Yeah.
And then when you carry that into whatever room you're supposed to be in, it is the best.
Yeah. And I
And
think
it's exactly what you're supposed to be doing.
yeah. Yeah. And so in this case, it's like God had for them to be in that room with that person or that couple. And that was what he was trying to do. And it's like, and sometimes that happens. And it's like, you know, different people have different callings. And I'm so thankful. Like I know some people who have been called to the Hollywood elite. And I'm so thankful that there are people who are going in there and communicating with those people and trying to influence the influencers and
Right.
And I think the reason I want to bring this up is because you are going to be hard pressed to find many financial experts or gurus who are going to who would say that that was a good idea. Do you know what I'm saying? Like in your situation,
Absolutely.
with what you have going on financially, that is a terrible idea. You
Right.
should never do that. And that is, I think, one of the things that makes us unique and maybe not even financial experts, if you will.
Right.
We just happen to talk about money, that we lean to, above all else, what is God asking you to do?
Right.
It's like we can talk about some of the basics and some of the standards and some of the guidelines and whatever, all that stuff, but all that stuff goes out the window if
Right.
God says something different.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what it is because it's all an invention, I will say this loosely, of man. You know, whatever budgeting percent you should use for how much of your mortgage should you have, like whatever all the different things are. Like it's all some man came up with that,
Right.
you know? And there's nothing that is more valuable than following the Holy Spirit's leading in the instruction that God has for you to do.
And we can see where this gets tricky because it can come across of like, oh yeah, I bet the Lord's leading me to go there too. You know,
I know. Yeah.
like
But that's why you have to discern. It's like, is this
You
my
do have to
flesh and I
discern.
just want to do this, or is this actually the Holy Spirit leading it? And I think the way you're leaning often will be an indication of that. You know, they
Right.
were leaning against this. This seems like a bad idea.
right.
You know what I mean? And God's like, no. But if they were like leaning in, it's like, I want to go there, I want to go there, you know, and like trying to make it happen so desperately. It's like, you know,
Right.
that might be a clue.
Yeah. So another thought I wanted to add to this is the idea of spending well, because, or I guess I should say spending in obedience, because I think it is very easy for the savers to be like, you know, that's just a terrible idea. This is never something we would ever spend our money on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that was even just like over stewarding can come to the point where it disagrees with something that the Lord is saying, I need you to go do this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So again, you think about the missionary work and it's like, it's really easy to be like, yes, I'm going to raise all this money to go on this. But if the missionary work is somewhere where it actually costs us a whole lot of money to go and actually puts us in a status symbol position, right? This is where I think it's difficult to sit in the tension of I am in the world and not of the world.
Yeah.
If God is asking you to go into that place, in some ways to me, that as a spender even, to me, it can feel almost the same as like asking me to go into a den of lions, where it's like there's a whole lot of thoughts that would be swirling in my head of like, am I going to be dressed cute enough? What are these people going to be like? What are they going to think of me? Da, 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 da. Like I can go.
Yeah.
And even though there would be a excitement to be in a really cool place with really cool people, there would also be this other side of it that would hit me really hard. And I think this is where we have to depend on the Lord to know, are we doing the right thing? You know what I mean? Are we spending this money in honor of him? And also, if we're on Sunday morning singing the song, you're worthy of it all, but then we're saying, but you're not worthy of me obeying in this area because this doesn't make any sense. And I know how to steward my money well.
Yep.
I've read your Bible, Lord, and I know how to steward my money well. And this doesn't make any sense. And so I'm not doing it.
Yeah. Well, and that is fundamentally it's a trusting in the money. And it's actually not good stewardship. So you're using the phrase over stewardship, but I actually think that's not the best way to describe it. Because,
maybe it's
but no, I know what you mean.
Like pawning it off, like justifying it as stewardship.
But I'm just saying.
But it's disobedience.
I'm saying that to be a good steward or a good manager of someone else's resources means that you obey their instructions.
You do what they want
you
you
to do.
do.
So if I own a restaurant and I have a manager in charge of that restaurant and they're trying to save money on all this stuff and do all this stuff and say, hey, I would like to buy nicer chairs for our patrons who are going to be in the restaurant. And they're like, nope, I'm really good at managing this money. And I'm like,
or
it's my restaurant. I want to buy nicer chairs for them.
And what's going on is, a food critic is about to come in and you want,
yeah, or
you
whatever.
know what I mean?
But the point is that I'm
like,
the owner. I get to make that decision. And a
right.
manager who is disobeying my instructions because they think they can do it better is not stewarding well,
right.
not managing well,
right?
So, and I the reason, again, we're talking about this is because I don't think this is talked about much at all. Like, I don't know if I've ever heard this side talked about. And I think it's important. And I think the reason it's not talked about much is because most people lean in the other direction. And most people, but I know that we have some listeners, some people in our community who do need to hear this message.
Right.
And I know that those who don't, in Jesus' name, have the maturity to understand that maybe this isn't a message for you right now.
Right.
Right? Because there is a time where a lot of us need that message of you need to steward your money better. Stop being so wasteful.
Right. Exactly. But I mean, also like this for our friends. And I feel like there's been a thing or two where you and I have done this, where it's like, why are we spending this much money on this thing? This doesn't feel right. And we've had to work through some of that. And so this is not a message for all the time either. Like, I think that's the other thing is like, but if you're in that position where you're like, I really feel like the Lord is leading me to do this, you're not crazy. You're not completely selfish. You're not trying to self-indulge. I mean, I think lean into and get curious about why he's asking you to do that, and then look for the opportunity that he's putting before you.
Well, let's tell a little bit more of their story. So what happened after that was cool too, because I think they went and said 5 or 6 different things happened where God just started sending random money to cover the expense.
Well, the first thing was their room got upgraded. So they were we're going to get the cheapest room we can possibly get. Because again, it's an all-inclusive resort. And so you kind of have to you pick a room and the room is just, it's beautiful. It's amazing. But the tiers keep going higher and higher and higher.
Yeah.
And so they were like, we're definitely getting the cheapest one. It wasn't even a question in their mind. And when they got there, they just got a free upgrade.
Yeah.
Which to them was just like, I don't understand.
This isn't like a $30 upgrade. It's like
it's like $1,000 upgrade, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that was kind of one of those things where it was just, I think too, it's sweet to see the Lord lavish his love on you,
Yeah.
where it's like they didn't need it. They weren't like, I don't think they were even asking the Lord for it. It was just one of those like, I'm just going to give this to you.
Cup overflowing.
Yeah. Sweet things.
So that happened, but then the actual money came in, one thing after another, and I don't remember all the details they said, but it was just crazy hearing all these stories over the next couple of weeks, how God just out of complete random places brought the money in which, again, is just cool. It's just a cool piece of it. But there's also, I want to just share a little bit from our life, because we had, this is their story that we're sharing that I think brings something important up, but like we had a little version of this, and I think multiple points in our lives where we've had the Lord kind of push us the opposite way of definitely the way I was leaning. And in what we kind of saw through that, and again, the wrestle of that, and so one of the things that in one of our leaner seasons with our business, a few years back, I felt like in that season, the Lord challenged me, because we had cut our budget back and chopped it back and did what we talk about in our book, Simple Money, like adjusting down to the current circumstances.
Right.
And so we had done that. We had adjusted down, and we were in a season where it's like we were living in that adjustment for a while. And I felt like he challenged me. He's like, I want you to set your ideal budget, what you want. And I'm like, this isn't the time for an ideal budget. This is the time for cutting down as much as we can. And he pushed me on that. And I think the reason he came to me and not you
is because he knew.
Well,
Linda would say yes immediately.
Yeah, no, you'd have no problem with it. And like I was the one who needed to have my trust developed in him in that way.
Right.
And what was interesting is that we didn't have the same result they did. We kind of had the opposite. And so we did that, and we began living that.
Whittling down.
And and what it did
savings
for us is it just seemed to drain down our savings faster. And I'm like, what are you doing, God? Like, what? This makes no sense. Like, if you asked us to do this, I would expect that you would just provide all this extra for us. And which he did, it would just happen to be in our savings account.
Right.
And so like you were telling me about this the other day as we were thinking back on this, it's like he was just trying to get us down to the point where we had nothing else to trust in except for him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh.
He was like, we're going to race to the finish line. You don't want this to take a long time? Let's go. Let's just spend all the money and get to the point where you're fully trusting me. And I mean, that is what happened. And so it is interesting because the Lord just he doesn't like to tell the same story twice. He doesn't,
Yeah.
And he does things in such different ways. And when I look back on it, I'm like, I do believe that that's what he led us to do, but it still does feel a little bit like, why was that the route he took?
Yeah.
And I don't know that I'll know. I think that some of it will be a lot of it will be very clear in heaven, when we get to meet him and see more of his master plan,
Yeah.
But I do see how he was working in a lot of it. And I think there was a testing. I think there was a testing of, do we believe his faithfulness? Can we trust what he's done in the past, that he will do it again, which is that he said he's the provider, and he has proven himself to us as the provider. And do we actually believe that? Yeah. I think that part of it was a season of blessing, and then the next part of it needed to be a season of like pulling back, of being a little bit more tight and a little more frugal and a little more intentional.
Yeah, and I think this whole thing begs the question, if I was listening to this episode, I might be asking this question, like, how do you know the difference? How do you know when God is asking you to spend more or when he's asking you to spend less? And I think it probably comes down to what he's trying to teach you in that season. Because again, both of us have had different seasons where he's trying to each teach us one of those things.
Right.
And we both had to learn those lessons and go through those and obey in those things.
Right.
And what's so beautiful, though, is like, I love that God wants to tell us, and it doesn't have to be a mystery. It doesn't have to be that. And so my encouragement would be literally pray and ask. And I know that like sometimes that response sounds trite and well, of course, yeah, pray, blah blah blah. Like, but I will never be dismissive of this idea of praying because even though it might be trite, it absolutely is the most important thing to do. And it's so easy to lose sight of that and to just take it for granted. And I think we miss out on so much when we just roll our eyes at the, just pray about it thing.
Well,
when it's like, that literally is the answer.
And have you ever thought that the reason you're not hearing from God is because he's just trying to pull you closer?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, my children have a tendency to yell at me from the other room.
No, our kids?
And, I will sometimes yell back and answer to them. And when I mean yell, I mean, Mom, what? It's not like, argument yelling or whatever. But there are some times when I have just decided I'm not going to yell. You're going to have to come here if you want me. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to come in here so you can see my face. You can get rid of distraction. And I mean, this is just on a very basic level of if you want to hear my answer, you're going to have to come here.
That's good.
I would think he'd probably do that.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of times when I'm like, I don't have any answer. I've been praying and, kind of have a bad attitude towards the person who's asking me, have you been praying? And I'm like, yes, I've been praying,
But have you actually been drawing near?
But have I been drawing
near? Have you been
near?
really seeking his face?
Did I put down the distraction? Did I walk away from the other stuff?
Take time to listen to what he might quietly whisper to your heart.
Because, I mean, there are times when I do just want the quick answer. And
always. I always want the quick answer.
Well, yeah. But there's those times where it's just like, I don't even feel like I have enough time or energy to pray this.
Yeah.
Or to really seek his face or, whatever. But he never really wants that from us. He's like, I haven't called you here so I can just give you all the answers.
Yeah.
I'm here because we are in a relationship together and I want to be with you. I'm trying to get you. You know what I mean?
Yep. All right. So let's talk about a few different ways to kind of navigate this tension on like a really practical level. So if you're trying to decide that, I think first it's really important to make sure that you're hearing from God and that you're not just justifying something that you want to do. Mm-hmm. And, there's obviously a big difference between what God is calling you to do and your own desires. And like I was saying before, I think one of the ways for me that has always been a good clue, and I'm not saying this is 100% of the time, but like, if I look at the way I'm leaning and then I feel like God calls me the opposite direction, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, I feel like that often is a good clue.
Right. But you're leaning you're leaning the opposite direction, but you feel peace to do the other thing.
Yeah. And
so
not
it's like,
and when I say peace, like I don't mean there's no concern, there's no anything there. It's just there's an overriding sense of peace.
Right.
A peace that passes understanding.
where it's kind of like, this just feels right and I don't understand why.
Yeah.
I think another way is to talk it out with someone. Be careful who you talk to. Be careful whose opinion you're getting.
Yeah.
You don't want an opinion, actually. You want wise counsel.
Yeah. Well,
I would also say,
go ahead.
just spend that time with the Lord in the spot of, I will do what you want me to do. I am trying to choose wisdom, but if you are asking me to march around the city 7 times and then yell and blow a trumpet, which does not seem like a wise way to win a fight, but I will still do it.
Yeah.
But if you are not, show me.
Yeah.
Close the doors of the things that need to be closed, Yeah. The things that are not you, just shut them down.
Yeah. So anyway, so just kind of my question for you, or anyone listening, but I want to ask us this too. It's like, what's God asking us right now? Like what are those things he might be challenging you with in your finances? And it might be one of either direction. Like, is he asking you to, I actually felt like, again, a few years ago when we were buckling down, I felt like this is not the time to buy a car and to replace one of our cars that honestly, like we didn't even need. So I had an older Jeep, and I felt like he said, I want you to get a newer Jeep. And we at the time had our third child. And so we had an older Jeep that only sat 4 people.
Yeah. 4 seat
There
belts.
wasn't a fifth seat. And so we couldn't all fit in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like he challenged me. He's like, I want you to, get
it's
a new
okay
Jeep.
to have a car with 5 seat belts.
Yeah. And I fought it. And I'm like, no, this doesn't make sense. It's not the right time. Like financially, it just doesn't make sense. And I fought him on it. Mm-hmm. And I finally yielded, which anytime I'm like, yeah, let's go spend some money, you get excited.
I'm fully on board.
And
I'm like, how much?
And anyway, it was a really great decision. And I'm so glad that we did. And we've made a lot of great memories in that car ever since.
Right.
And anyway, and so the point is just, what is God leading you to do? And my hope is that you're receiving this the way it's meant to be received. And
yes,
that you're not just seeing this as a license to spend, but you're actually listening to the Lord and using wisdom as you navigate this. But
so I think as financial educators, right, that like it's easy for us to get on here and get on our soapbox and say, you need to save and you need to do this much, this percentage, and it needs to be this way, and you should use this bank, and you should, because honestly, we've done a lot of research, we've figured out a lot of stuff. Like there is wisdom in what we're talking about. However, it is not easy to come on here and say, when the Lord's telling you to spend, you go spend that money. You use his money the way he is telling you to use it. Like this is just a reminder that there's not any condemnation from us on our part, because we have been in those seasons of where he's asking us to spend more than we would normally spend, and the seasons where he's like, dial it back. I know you want to do that. I know that that's a desire for you. I know that you can justify it. I'm telling you to dial it back.
Yep.
And that is who we listen to every single time. So feel the freedom. I pray that you would feel the freedom to do what the Lord is leading you to do.
Yeah, he's not interested in our perfect budget. He's interested in our surrendered heart.
Yep.
Right?
Amen.
So anyway, that's our prayer for you.
Yep.
Thank you for joining us on this conversation. Share it with someone who needs it. Share it with the right person who needs it. The right person at the right time, not the wrong person at the wrong time. But no, I think we covered both sides of it. But
right.
Anyway, I think it's just a topic that we needed to talk about because it's not talked about enough.
Yes.
So anyway, thanks for being part of it. See y'all.
I'm only on page 13 and I've already underlined a zillion things and I want to cry in a good way. This is what Kelly said after reading our book, Simple Money, Rich Life.
Yeah. Well, those first 13 pages, I mean, they're going to do it to you. They're going to do it to you. So be sure to check out the first 13 pages.
And did you know that you can get a copy of this award-winning book for free? You can get it on Amazon, but we so believe that the church needs this message that if you can cover shipping, we'd love to cover the cost of the book and send you a free copy.
All you need to do is go to SeedTime.com/free to get yours.